Please extend a hearty welcome to our honorable guests. Namaste. I, Dimple Pradhan, am humbled with honor to welcome all of you to the inaugural ceremony of the Symposium on Conflict Resolution, Internal and External. Keeping to the tradition of the Kaivalyadhama Yoga Institute, let us seek blessings of the higher power. I invite Ramdas ji and team to lead us into the Shanti part.
सभी से निवेदन है शांति पाठ के लिए तैयार हो जाएं। दोनों हाथ नमस्कार की मुद्रा में, आंखें कोमलता के साथ बंद। Inhale and start. Om Bhadram Karne Vishnuyaam Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangai Sushtuvang Sastanubhi Vyashemadevahitam Yadayuh. Om Swasti na Indro Vradashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedah Swasti nastaraksho Arishtanemi Swasti no Brohaspatir Dadhatu. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Vang me manasi pratishtita Mano me vachi pratishtita Ma viravirmaye divedasya Manistha Shrutam me ma prahasiranena dhitena Horatran sandadhamritam vadishyami Satyam vadishyami Tanmam avatu tadvaktaram avatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram avatu vaktaram. Om apyayantu mamangani vakpranashakshuh Shrotramatho valamindrayani cha Sarvani sarvam brahmaupanishadam Maham brahma nirakurya Mama brahma nirakaroda nirakaranam asva nirakaranam me astu तदात्मनि निरतेय उपनिषत्सु धर्मास्ते मयि सन्तु ते मयि सन्तु। ॐ पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति।
Dhanyavad. I now request Honorable Chief Guest and other dignitaries to please come forward and light the lamp, invoking spiritual knowledge and positivity to this ceremony.
चरणं पवित्रं विदधं पुराणं येन भूतस्तरति दुष्कृतानि तेन पवित्रेण शुद्धेन भूता अतिपापमानमरातिं तरेम। लोकस्य द्वारमर्चिमत्पवित्रं ज्योतिष्मद्भ्राजमानं महस्वत अमृतस्य धारा बहुधा दोहमानं चरणं न लोके सुदितां ददातु। नमोऽस्तु अनन्ताय सहस्रमूर्तये सहस्रपादाक्षिशिरोर्वाहवे सहस्रनाम्ने पुरुषाय शाश्वते सहस्रकोटियुगधारिणे नमः।
Thank you. I request our dignitaries to please take their seats. I now invite Shri Subodh Tiwari, Secretary and CEO, Kaivalyadhama, to present the welcome address.
सभी को नमस्कार, सभी को प्रणाम. A very good afternoon to all of you, and I welcome all of you to Kaivalyadhama. On behalf of the governing body and advisory board of Kaivalyadhama, I welcome the Honorable Chief Justice of India, Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud ji, to this function, which marks the centenary celebrations of Kaivalyadhama, who have completed the 100 years of thriving existence. It's a pleasure to have such an eminent jurist amongst us, who is an instrument of such proactive changes to strengthen the judicial system. At the same time, an ardent practitioner of yoga. The effects of practices of yoga manifest in him in terms of great compassion, discipline, transparency, and creativity. We all know that for the Chief Justice of India, and one like him, taking out time from his busy schedule is very difficult, but we offer our heartfelt thanks and gratitude that he has kept his commitment and he has come here to Kaivalyadhama today. I welcome Honorable Justice Abhay Okji. It was his visit in 2021 December in the international conference which put the seed of the symposium into our mind. He gave an example about how probably practice of yoga there could be a greater chance of resolving conflict. So we put that seed into manifestation. And when I requested him and invited him to the symposium, his love for the subject genuinely made it happen immediately. So I welcome you, sir, and thank you for coming. I welcome Justice D.K. Upadhyay ji, the Honorable Chief Justice of Bombay High Court, to Kaivalyadhama, to be amongst us in this symposium. The moment we invited him, he had at immediate instance agreed to come and participate here and blocked his date. Thank you, sir, for this gratitude to you for being able to come here. And since he has come to Bombay, he has taken many important steps as the Chief Justice, which are appreciated by one and all. And one decision he took very good for himself, and that was to immediately start practices of yoga, which I know. So thank you, sir. My heartfelt greetings and welcome to all the experts, the delegates, the member of the Bombay Bar Association, our collaborators, guests, members of the judiciary, well-wishers who are present here in the Tapobhumi of Swami Kaivalyanandaji to celebrate the centenary celebrations and the thriving existence of this institution. The centenary celebrations of Kaivalyadhama is a very special occasion for us to reflect, to introspect, to celebrate, and to set vision for next 100 years. When we look back and reflect, we feel a great sense of satisfaction towards contribution of Kaivalyadhama in field of yoga research, training, and therapy. Research projects like effect of yoga on cancer survivors, effect of yoga on children with special needs, impact of yoga on pre-diabetic, on gene expression, and more. All this research being continued. Today at Kaivalyadhama, a child can get enrolled in pre-primary and pass out after earning a doctorate in yoga. All this is being done and much more is to be done. But keeping in mind what Swami Kaivalyanandaji said, I have brought up this institution out of nothing. If it goes to nothing, I do not mind. But yoga should not be diluted. And that is, we keep that promise of his to ourselves and ensure that what we promote as yoga and in yoga is undiluted. There is evidence that yoga enhances gray matter in frontal cortex. There is evidence that practice of yoga enhances the GABA, the happiness hormone. There is evidence that practice of pranayama can influence the balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. We have evidence that practice of yoga reduces the pro-inflammatory cytokines and promotes anti-inflammatory cytokines. We have evidence that yoga practice can control C-reactive protein, thus reducing stress, so on and so forth. I therefore strongly feel that practices of yoga would enable internal synthesis to such an extent that it can influence the resolutions of the external conflict. And with this, I welcome you all to these deliberations, which are going to go for the whole day, where we have very eminent speakers to deliberate on subjects. My only hope strongly is soon we could have a judgment which says parties are asked to pursue yoga and go for mediation, which may have better rates of conflict resolution. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyanti, ma kaschit dukkha bhavai. Dhanyavad, dhanyavad, dhanyavad. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for extending such a heartfelt and warm welcome to our guests and present audience members. I now request Shri Subodh Tiwari to please felicitate the chief guest, Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, the Chief Justice of India. Thank you very much, sir. I now invite Justice Ramesh Dhanuka, member of the governing body of Kaivalyadhama, to felicitate Honorable Shri Justice Abhay Oak, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Thank you for doing the honors, sir. I now invite Shri Nitin Thakker, President, Bombay Bar Association, our collaborators, to felicitate Honorable Justice D.K. Upadhyay, Chief Justice, Bombay High Court. Thank you, sir. I now kindly invite Honorable Shri Justice D.K. Upadhyay, Chief Justice, High Court of Bombay, our guest of honor, to give his address.
Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India, Honorable Mr. Justice A.S. Oak, Judge Supreme Court of India, Justice B.N. Srikrishna, former Judge Supreme Court of India and Chairman Advisory Board, Kaivalyadhama, former Chief Justice, Justice Dhanuka, Shri Viren Saraf, Learned Advocate General State of Maharashtra, Shri O.P. Tiwari, Chairman of this institution, Shri Subodh Tiwari, Nitin Bhai, President Bar Association, respected panelists, dignitaries of and on the dais, my sisters and brothers. A very good afternoon to all of us. First of all, let me thank the Kaivalyadhama and its team to have organized such a symposium on such a topic which assumes relevance and importance because of the conflicts in the society which we are facing almost on day-to-day basis. Ever since the advent of the civilization, there have been conflicts and disputes. If there are conflicts and disputes, one of the most important urges of human being, not only of human beings, even amongst others also, is to have a sense of justice. Now, how to achieve this sense of justice? The society has endeavored to take various steps. It has evolved various methods, and that is how the judicial system has ultimately come up to take shape in various forms in various countries and various societies. But this conflict or dispute, its other dimension, that is the internal conflict, that has perhaps not been yet explored except in our old texts of this country. So this symposium, I hope, is going to discuss these aspects which have never been discussed elsewhere, so far as the methods to remove the conflicts amongst individuals, the disputes amongst individuals, the disputes amongst individual and the state, between a state and the other state, the world over. So these methods which the society has been able to evolve till now are perhaps falling short, and therefore I hope this symposium will be discussing and evolving and giving some light to the statesmen, not only of this country but other countries also, to have better and more effective methods of conflict resolutions. I was not supposed to, I didn't know that I had to speak. Only yesterday night, my BPS tells me that I have to speak on the occasion. So I'm not that way ready with that. But one thing I would say on this subject, there is a saying in Sanskrit, Sharira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. Our body is the medium of achieving everything you want. Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. Dharma Sadhana, whatever you want to achieve righteously, lawfully, this body is the medium. So therefore, what yoga emphasizes in my little understanding is you have to take care of your body first. Only then you will be able to do whatever you want to in a righteous direction. This thinking, if you have a glance about the various philosophies developing in various corners in the world, this kind of thinking has not only evolved here only, but perhaps in the Middle Ages, we lost this knowledge, and I am very happy to notice, I didn't know about Kaivalyadhama as an institution, but when I came to Bombay while going from my residence to the court, I used to see a building on the left-hand side, opposite perhaps Marine Drive. So I became a bit inquisitive. I inquired about it. I came to know about the contributions made by these institutions, and I hope this kind of symposiums being organized by the institution, that too in collaboration with the Bombay Bar Association, which can help resolve the internal as well as external disputes and conflicts which keep on coming up in the society almost on everyday basis. I would again thank the organizers of this symposium and hope that such symposiums are organized at a much larger scale. I am very happy to note that on such a subject, the presence of the audience here is not confined to lawyers. So I can see persons from across the society. So therefore, it is a very good step which I welcome and expect rather. And I would hope that this kind of discussion goes on a much larger scale. With these words, I thank again to the organizers of this symposium, and I hope that this symposium is going to be a big success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for expressing your appreciation for the symposium. I now invite our esteemed guest of honor, Honorable Shri Justice Abhay Oak, Judge, Supreme Court of India, to present the keynote address.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable Sri Justice Devendra Kumar Upadhyay, Chief Justice of Bombay High Court, Honorable Sri Justice B.N. Srikrishna, former Judge of the Supreme Court of India, Honorable Sri Justice Ramesh Dhanuka, former Judge of the Bombay High Court, Shri Nitin Thakker, President of the Bombay Bar Association, Shri O.P. Tiwari ji, Shri Subodh Tiwari ji, Shri Shashank Manohar, former judges of the Bombay High Court, senior advocates, and ladies and gentlemen. I am very happy to be part of this function of inauguration of Justice M.L. Pense Center for Cancer Survivors and Lifestyle Conditions. Late Honorable Justice M.L. Pense was one of the greatest judges of Bombay High Court I have ever seen. Speaking personally, after I became a judge of Bombay High Court, he was always a guide and philosopher for me. I remember I had gone to his house in Pune and spent 3 hours. And during that very valuable period of 3 hours, he gave me important tips which I used in discharge of my duties. I must appreciate the trustees of Justice M.L. Pense Foundation for their gesture. I must say here that Justice M.L. Pense Foundation is also helping the cause of legal education. The subject of today's symposium is conflict resolution, internal and external. I think Honorable Chief Justice of India is the best person to speak on the subject. He has a unique style of effectively dealing with conflicts which come before him in the form of cases. We should consider ourselves to be very lucky that he has agreed to spend valuable time of 3 hours with us. Every morning in Supreme Court, we meet at 10:15, my sister and brother judges. There is one topic of discussion, common topic of discussion every day, from where our Chief Justice gets this unending energy. So today he divulged the secret. He said he is practicing yoga for 26 years. So I'm not going to take much time because I want our Chief Justice to address us. He works 24/7, and I can share something. Very often he doesn't find time to have his early morning breakfast, so he eats something in car on the way to Supreme Court. Since majority of us who are sitting on the dais belong to legal fraternity, and legal fraternity is present here in large numbers, I'll be briefly speaking on conflicts in the context of cases which come before the courts. Before I deal with those cases, I must say that we as judges face internal conflicts as we find it difficult to decide cases involving complicated legal and human issues. And after working for more than 20 years as a judge of the Constitutional Court, I find that it is very, very difficult to resolve those conflicts in our mind. In a sense, all cases which come before the courts at all levels, the cases which come before us, they are outcome of a conflict. There may be different kinds of conflicts. There are moral conflicts, religious conflicts, and political conflicts. Borderline between internal and external conflicts cannot be defined, whereas there is a lot of overlapping. Broadly, the civil and criminal cases which come before the courts can be divided into 3 categories. The first broad category is of the cases arising out of conflicts between individuals. The second category is of conflicts involving business entities. Again, in even this second category, there is element of human conflict. And the third category is a conflict between individual citizen on one hand and the all-powerful state and its instrumentalities on the other hand. More than half of the cases which come before the constitutional courts are criminal cases. Most of the criminal cases arise out of conflicts due to social or economic situations. There are many cases where hunger compels a human being to commit an offense. I read somewhere about 2000 years back, in our jurisprudence, there was a concept that somebody who out of hunger commits theft, he cannot be penalized and he can't be branded as a criminal. Adverse social situation faced by a human being also compels him to commit an offense. Adverse economic conditions are also the cause of conflict, which leads to victim committing an offense. If a person does not have food to eat and money to survive, he has no option or he has temptation of committing an offense of theft. The traditional legal system sends such a criminal or such an offender to jail. Barring few cases, we send the accused to the jail. Those are the few cases where we release an offender on bond of good conduct. A conflict between haves and have-nots leads to commission of various categories of offenses. When a guilty person is released from the jail, he finds it difficult to survive. Then that leads to one more conflict. The society in general does not accept him. In most of the cases, even his own family disowns him. And then he has no choice but to return to the field of committing crime with the only object of surviving in the society. Then he lands up in the world of criminals. And when he enters that world, there is no point of return. When it comes to punishing a person for committing crime, we always talk about reformative theory. Our legal system and our jails hardly do anything to reform a criminal. The challenge before the society is in what manner we are going to reform the criminals. This is a huge challenge, and we must accept that challenge because we must realize one thing. It is our society which ultimately leads to these kinds of conflicts, and these kind of conflicts create criminals. There are other situations which create conflicts. In our country, one of the reasons is religion, religious conflicts. When such conflict starts, the tempers become very high, and those who are involved in those conflicts do not see the reason. Few years back, I was really honored to attend a discourse of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. He said something interesting. He said that no religion can claim to be the best religion. In fact, he laid emphasis by saying that he does not claim that even Buddhism is the best religion. He said that at highest I can say that it has potential to become the best religion. Perhaps one of the solutions to these religious conflicts is to accept that there is no difference between one religion and another. But unfortunately, that acceptance is not there, and therefore, in our country, we see religious conflicts which lead to large-scale crimes. Perhaps the ultimate solution, apart from yoga and meditation, is to accept and abide by the constitutional philosophy of secularism. There are hardcore criminals in our society. Such criminals are product of conflicts in our society. Apart from social and economic factors, there are other factors which lead to conflicts involving hardcore criminals. One of the factors is craving for money, and that is why we have so many offenses of robbery, economic offenses, cyber offenses, etc. Another category of conflict which is posing greatest challenge not only to our legal system but to our society at large. This category is of conflict between the parties to a marriage. If the conflict between husband and wife is not resolved at the threshold, it creates multiple litigations at various levels, starting from our civil and criminal courts and ending up to Supreme Court. This conflict adversely affects three families. One family is of the husband, the other family is of the wife, and third is the small family of husband and wife and perhaps small kids. If these conflicts are not resolved at the earliest, the bitterness sets in, the litigation fatigue sets in. The parties start thinking of taking revenge against each other. And when it leads to this kind of a situation where one party feels that I will take revenge, the conflict resolution becomes impossible. We sitting in courts, we decide these matrimonial cases, but we rarely solve the real conflict which led to the matrimonial dispute. Our decisions, frankly speaking, are not capable of resolving real dispute in matrimonial cases. We sitting in courts decide who is legally right and who is legally wrong. If we do not find a real solution to these matrimonial disputes, the health of our society will keep on deteriorating. It will affect the very existence of system of family in our society. After having worked as a judge of the constitutional courts for about 20 years, I must confess that I have realized that our verdict is not the real solution for resolving the conflicts. During last few decades, we, the members of the legal fraternity, have tried to resolve conflicts which are taken to the court of law by taking recourse to methods of mediation, conciliation, as well as lok adalats. But again, success is limited. Except for mediation, the other methods of these systems, we again aim at ending a dispute, but we don't concentrate on what is the cause of dispute. Now, what is the solution? By what method we are going to prevent conflicts and go to the root causes of conflicts? In our prisons in Maharashtra, I have traveled to almost all central prisons in Maharashtra. We, on behalf of the Legal Services Authority of Bombay High Court, we always used to request the jail authorities to start courses in yoga and meditation. We did not get desired result because perhaps the mistake was that was not done scientifically. Now, this is one area where all those who are connected with yoga can really work. If we can impart training in yoga to our prisoners, perhaps we will be able to bring many of them on the right path. That is one area where we need to work. In Bombay High Court in 2018, we started an initiative under the caption, Let's Talk. The idea was that before the husband and wife take their cases to the courts, through expert psychologists and counselors, we'll try to bring about settlement of the dispute. Perhaps after I started reading the material, because I wanted to address the August gathering here, I realized that maybe a good idea to associate yoga with that center, Let's Talk. While Subodhji was addressing you, I realized that we have so many centers at various places, mediation centers. There is mediation center works in Supreme Court, it gives good results. There are mediation centers of the High Court. Perhaps we can associate institutions like Kaivalyadhama with our mediation centers. Perhaps we'll be able to have better results from the mediation proceedings. As we are making huge progress in the field of science and technology, and as we are becoming more and more modern, more and more conflicts in different and new forms arise in our society. The social media, the use of gadgets leads to more and more conflicts. Perhaps a section of our society which is using social media is spreading hatred by use of the media. Now, use of this technology is going to create one more category of conflicts, and it will be a huge challenge before all of us, before our society, to deal with such conflicts. Today there are going to be day-long deliberations on the issue of conflict resolution. I hope and trust that today's deliberations will give a different direction to the conflict resolution. In fact, I, as a member of the legal fraternity, seek guidance from the experts in the field of yoga for resolving the conflicts with which we are dealing every day in our courts. I must stop here, as all of us are eager to hear the views of Honorable Chief Justice of India on the subject. I thank the organizers from bottom of my heart for inviting me to address the August gathering. And I want to thank them for one more reason. As Subodhji told me to address on this issue, I got a different perspective after I read so much of material on the issue of conflict resolution. So I again thank Subodhji and his team for inviting me here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your extensive knowledge and experiences. Thank you for believing yoga to be the medium for correcting prisoners and helping them fall on the right path. I now invite Shri Justice B.N. Srikrishna, Chairman of the Advisory Board of Kaivalyadhama, for the Presidential Address.
Should I address all of you as honorable judges, or let me start by saying my esteemed brother-in-chief, Dr. Chandrachud, my esteemed brother, Abhay Oak, my esteemed brother, Ramesh Dhanuka, and of course, Mr. Tiwari, Subodh Tiwari, and Mr. Nitin Thakker. All of you who are past judges, present judges, or future judges of this country, Namo Namaha to you. I think if any of you have read the Constitution of UNESCO, there is a declaration there which is very much relevant for our today's topic. The declaration says, since wars begin in the minds of persons, it is there that we must build defenses against war and in favor of peace. So therefore, if you talk of conflict, it was interesting, in the morning to see the inauguration of the Dr. Pense Memorial Cancer Hospital and Research Center. Dr. Pense himself, Justice Pense himself symbolized what has been called in the Manusmriti very candidly. Manusmriti says that a person who adjudicates and gives justice is like a surgeon wielding a knife so as to remove the cause that is creating the conflict. And that is precisely what happens in a situation of cancer. The idea is to prevent. But all diseases are to be prevented before they become diseases, to be taken care of by medication while it still survives, and then aftercare is necessary. As far as conflicts of disputes are concerned, we are bound to see that they are nipped in the bud in the minds in which they are generated. Now today's symposium, therefore, is very relevant and helps us in taking forward this idea of how to resolve conflicts before they become conflicts themselves. I am not going to take much time. You have the Honorable Chief Justice of India to address you on the subject. I end by saying one thing, adding to what Justice Oak said. He said that we must make yoga compulsory for prisoners. I go one step ahead and say, in foreign countries, there is a punishment to a person convicted saying that you go and do so and such social service. So why can't we say, I'm convicting you for this petty offense, go and enroll yourself and produce a certificate from Kaivalyadhama that you have completed yoga. That will prevent the man's recidivism into criminality. So we need not wait till he commits and then he becomes a convict. We can start it immediately there. I think that is an experiment that the honorable judges should try somewhere along the line. If you can order a man to go and say, plant 100 trees, why can't I say 100 hours of Kaivalyadhama Yoga Institute? That should be tried, and I don't think there should be any conscientious objection to it, at least not amongst this audience. Elsewhere there may be, we'll take care of it. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity for talking to you. My gratitude to the honorable judges sitting on the dais and to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It is a pleasure to have you with us. I now take this moment to invite the chief guest, Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, the Chief Justice of India, for the inaugural address.
A very distinguished senior brother, Honorable Justice B.N. Srikrishna, former judge of the Supreme Court, and Chairman of the Advisory Board of Kaivalyadhama, Brother Justice Abhay, my colleague in the Supreme Court, Justice D.K. Upadhyay, Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court, who has been a very valued colleague of mine when I served at the Allahabad High Court for nearly 3 years. Former judges of the Bombay High Court, Dr. O.P. Tiwari ji, Chairman of Kaivalyadhama. Tiwari ji was with us also in the morning. Shri Subodh Tiwari, Secretary and CEO. Shri Shashank Manohar, Managing Trustee of the Justice M.L. Painse Foundation. Mr. Nishant Jain, Project Director. Shri Nitin Thakker, President of Bombay Bar Association. Namaste, Pranam, and very good afternoon to all of you. It's my distinct honor to inaugurate the Justice M.L. Painse Center for Cancer Survivors and Lifestyles Conditions, and this symposium on conflict resolution, both internal and external, organized in collaboration with the Bombay Bar Association. On a personal, and if I may say so, a more vulnerable note, I am grateful to the organizers for inviting me to this tranquil and spectacular campus. As I traveled from Delhi to Pune yesterday, first to Mumbai and then to Pune, I felt restless. My mind was cluttered with thoughts about judicial work which I had completed, judicial work which I had not been able to complete, judicial work which is lined up when I go back tomorrow, public engagements, administrative responsibilities. But as I walked through this beautiful campus, amid the scenic landscape of the Sahyadris, the pristine flora and the sounds of the birds chirping, I could feel my mind slowly come to ease. In this bustling world where stress and chaos often dominate our lives, institutions like Kaivalyadhama stand as an oasis, a sanctuary for peace, wellness, and for self-discovery. We are all truly indebted to Kaivalyadhama for its unique fusion of yoga and advanced science to create synergies across health, education, and research. I think part of the problems that we as a civilization have faced is because so much of our tradition is oral. Much of our tradition is not documented. But in the environment which is created after the Industrial Revolution of documenting research, of documenting ideas, we somehow lag behind. Though our society, our civilization is so evolved, whether it's in terms of our knowledge of Ayurveda, our knowledge of yoga, but this was something which was passed on from generation to generation. I think the yoga movement, and Kaivalyadhama is really an intrinsic part of that movement, is to liberate to that extent our tradition from its purely oral foundations by contributing to documenting knowledge. And the reason to document knowledge is that knowledge never reduces by sharing it with each other. Knowledge only enhances by its being shared across societies. In that sense, our conception of knowledge is very distinct from modern concepts of intellectual property, where you seek to monopolize knowledge. You monopolize knowledge and monetize knowledge by the monopoly which the law yields over your property. But to us in our civilization, knowledge in that sense is neither a monopoly nor a property. It's a shared resource which we have received from those who came before us, a shared resource which we hold in trust, and a shared resource which we will pass on for future generations. Yet at the same time, there cannot be any gainsaying the fact that we live in a modern age, an age of science, an age of technology, And the importance of science and technology is the incremental growth that takes place. So as we are all very conscious of the fact, all of us iPhone or technology buffs, we're always conscious about, version 2.0. We do that in the e-courts project of the Supreme Court. It's the e-filing module 2.0, or it's the software model, the faster model 2.5, or whatever it is. So we are conscious of the fact that we need to document knowledge. And therefore, while we have to stand fast to our own tradition of what we have received over thousands of years, equally we cannot stand apart from what modern societies require, which is to document, to explain, to have hypotheses tested. And it is in that work, I believe, of pitchforking yoga in the context of the evolution of modern knowledge, that perhaps institutions like Kaivalyadhama and the entire yoga movement in India is in that sense transforming what is truly traditional or ancestral into something which is futuristic. It would be customary to say that I am honored to be a part of the inauguration of the Justice M.L. Paintsay Center for Cancer Survivors in Lifestyle Conditions. But on this occasion, those words hold an even deeper truth for me. As a young member of the bar, I held Justice Paintsay in the highest regard for his integrity, his legal expertise, and unwavering commitment to the legal profession. His exemplary ideals continue to serve as a guiding light as I navigate my role as a judge of a constitutional court. From that perspective, I must share with you, and Subodh spoke about intertwining yoga and mediation. Justice Paintsay always practiced mediation in his court. His first effort when he heard a lawyer was to try and find out where did the resolution of the conflict lie without going to judgment. Of course, he had his very peculiarly Paintsay way of dealing with mediation, which is that he suggested the solution and you dare not accept the solution. When I was a very young lawyer, I also suffered on occasion by having the temerity or the courage to say that I'm not going to agree to the solution. But then later on I realized that the real art was not to let the judge know that you were trying to walk out of the solution, but the other side was trying to walk out of the solution. But on a more serious note, he really in that sense exemplified the need for balance in dispute resolution. Deeply he was conscious of the fact that dispute resolution in our society, in our system, is deeply adversarial. The winner takes it all, much like our elections. Because you don't allot votes in terms of the proportion of the vote which you have obtained. The highest person, the first past the post gets the electoral ballot. Now that is really a serious problem about our system. Because we do not factor in that there could be many solutions to legal conflicts which stop short of an eventual decision one way or the other in favor of one party. You can perhaps lead both parties to a happy situation rather than to leave one party happy and the other unhappy. And Justice Paintsay in that sense was the forebearer of this tradition of mediation which has now gained ground as a scientific discipline in India, when he used to encourage parties to resolve their disputes. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to the Justice M.L. Paintsay Foundation for wholeheartedly preserving and perpetuating Justice Paintsay's remarkable legacy. Now we are all part, as I said, of the oral tradition, and I realize every morning that my generation is also now towards the outer edge of a legal career. But how do we then pass on the messages of the greats in our profession who came before us, whom the younger generation of our profession doesn't know? The establishment of this center, aptly titled Project Anand, stands as a noble tribute, reflecting Justice Paintsay's enduring influence and dedication. This initiative not only honors his memory, but symbolizes hope, resilience, and a dedication to enhancing the lives of survivors as they navigate challenges post-treatment. Justice Paintsay was a remarkably straightforward person, absolutely unafraid of power. He had this ability to speak truth to power, even if it was his own Chief Justice. In those days, we didn't have air conditioning in the Bombay High Court. Justice P.D. Desai was the presiding Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court, a very distinguished judge in his own right, somebody we admire and respect as much as we admire and respect Justice Paintsay. He found Justice Paintsay walking by his courtroom. Justice Paintsay was sitting in the last court on the second floor, and he found Justice Paintsay walking by his courtroom at 4:35 in the evening. Time for rising was 4:45. And he sent a little note to Justice Paintsay asking him, why did you get up from court before time was up? How did you leave your court before 4:45? Now, Justice Paintsay had finished his board, and not finished his board by adjourning all the matters, but by finishing his board by writing judgments on all the matters. And to which Justice Paintsay replied, for some things, I'm not answerable to anyone, not including my Chief Justice. I'm answerable only to my own conscience. So it is in that tradition that we have really come to admire Justice Paintsay. The legendary Japanese novelist, I'm sure a lot of you have read him, Haruki Murakami, wrote, when you come out of a storm, when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. In many ways, the Justice M.L. Paintsay Center, which we inaugurated this morning, will help survivors who have endured the storm of cancer and other chronic conditions integrate and rebuild their lives. I have closely cared for a family member who was battling cancer for over a decade and witnessed firsthand the challenges, the resilience, and the profound impact on both the patient and the family during such a challenging period. I know firsthand what it is to bring up little children when their mother is suffering from cancer. The center's commitment to comprehensive well-being, encompassing physical, emotional, and psychological aspects, aligns closely with my personal beliefs in the transformative power of approaches such as yoga, meditation, and mindfulness. I began the practice of yoga sometime in 1996 when I was referred to a teacher by the name of Anantalime. He is past 90 and lives in Pune. He used to teach me exercise. He used to teach me yoga. And every morning he would come and tell me one thing, which I still value. He said, I'm here to teach you exercise. I'm here to teach you the physical aspects of yoga, the techniques of yoga. What you will gain from this as a part of your own existence is for you to assimilate. I will not tell you what those experiences are. I will not tell you about what your path on evolution will be. I'm here, treat me only as a teacher of the physical and some of the other aspects related to yoga, but I want you to assimilate those experiences yourself. The person who referred Anantalime to me was quite a sturdy human being. He told Mr. Lime to stand on his feet and to hold his hands. And he lifted him 60 degrees in the air with him standing on his feet. And he turned to him and said, what yoga are you going to teach me? I'm a strong man. So he looked at him and only said, I can teach you how to control your breath and observe your breath. If we can achieve that in a few sessions, we would have achieved a lifetime of learning. Subodh had sent a teacher from Kaivalyadhama to me when I was a judge of the Bombay High Court. And every day, while teaching me different asanas, he would only say one thing. He had observed me for a few days and he would say only one thing to me, Lamba Saas. And he would say this Lamba Saas about 100 times during the course of that 45-minute session. And I used to wonder, why does he keep on saying Lamba Saas? What was the importance of, this? Later on, when, you're on your own, when you've left the teaching of yoga and then you're really left to make your own mistakes and learn from your mistakes, you realize how yoga is really, in that sense, all about opening up your sinews to allow the breath of life to enter your body and your mind. So whether you're doing Supta Vajrasana, whether you're doing Sarvangasana, whether you're doing Dhanurasana, or whether you've completed all that and you are doing Kapalbhati, whether you're doing Bhastrika, whether you're doing Anulom Vilom, the effort really is to assimilate your body into something which lies beyond the realm of the body. And I think that truly is something which we learn to assimilate in incremental stages over a period of a life. And I'm not sure whether you can achieve it in the course of one lifetime. So yoga transcends mere physical exercise. It is a way of life and a path to balance the body, mind, and spirit. In fact, yogasanas do not merely indicate physical postures, but reflect seats. They reflect seats where we are comfortable. When you initially perform an asana for the first time, the sensation of discomfort or even pain might be quite prominent. This experience is akin to an internal struggle, where your mind urges you to escape the posture and return to a state of comfort, free from this conflict. So that your mind is constantly telling you, please get out of this posture and return to your comfort zone. You are trying to transcend that comfort zone and your mind is constantly telling you, get out of this comfort and get out of this posture and get back to your comfort zone. Free from this conflict of your mind with the physical aspects of the asana. However, the essence of yoga, and I dare say the essence of life itself, lies in embracing this discomfort or conflict, gradually finding ease within the posture and learning to reside in it without resistance or discord. It involves the art of becoming comfortable within the asana, ultimately reaching a state of repose and tranquility without a sense of inner conflict. That's why the true worth of yoga is in attempting to overcome this inner conflict of the mind by coming to terms with this physical conflict between the asana which you do and the pain which you may sometimes, or the discomfort which you may experience. Now, conflict is an unavoidable part of human interaction, arising from differences in opinions, values, and perspectives. While conflict is inevitable, how we manage and resolve it is crucial for maintaining harmony and progress in any setting, be it personal relationships, workplaces, or global affairs. In my view, the differentiation between the internal and the external conflicts is fundamentally flawed. There is really no distinction between the internal and the external. Both the internal merges with the external, and the external itself is a part of your internal being. External conflict cannot be neatly detached from internal strife, as they are interconnected and often interdependent, each influencing and feeding the other. In 1981, for instance, amid the tensions of the Cold War, as the world order was disrupted by conflict, the United Nations General Assembly passed a resolution for the promotion of peace, which eloquently encapsulates the interplay between the internal and the external elements of conflict. The resolution of the UN General Assembly read, "Since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defense of peace must be constructed. That a peace based exclusively upon the political and economic arrangements of governments would not be a peace which could secure the unanimous, lasting, and sincere support of the peoples of the world, and that the peace must therefore be founded, if it is not to fail, upon the intellectual and moral solidarity of mankind." Indeed, external conflicts often find their genesis in internal conflicts of various hues. Now, lawyers perennially find themselves in situations of conflict and engage with conflict at every stage, From advising clients on the best way to resolve the conflict, to representing them as they battle it out in the courtroom. Some lawyers would also tell their clients how to avoid conflict. As judges, we find ourselves at the other end of the table, grappling with various considerations as we attempt to resolve the conflict between the parties before us. Unlike the profession of yoga gurus, most people view our profession as one that deals purely with external conflict. However, this is not without our own internal churnings. Lawyers often find themselves soul-searching about the ethics of accepting a particular brief and adopting a certain line of argument. This ethical quandary revolves around the balance between their duty to uphold justice and the fundamental right of every individual to legal representation in a court of law. Similarly, oftentimes the call of duty of a judge lies in a call of our own conscience. Our minds are strictly not segregated compartments, and a significant portion of our moral grounding stems from the information and values absorbed throughout our lives as judges. We are often faced with situations that not only call for a value-neutral application of statutes, rules, and judgments, but also require us to look within and extend compassion to the parties before us. What, after all, is judging without compassion? Judging without compassion is really, for those of you who have ever ventured into it, the egg without the yolk. Courts are often faced with messy conflicts rooted in matrimonial discord, custody battles, or children in conflict with the law. These conflicts raise several emotional and ethical questions. They come to us every single day. You believe that when you go to the Supreme Court, you will have liberated yourself from the need to be dealing with matrimonial conflicts. And you only understand that matrimonial conflicts only increase when you go to the Supreme Court, and they become worse because parties are at the end of the battle. And they're not in a mood to resolve because they've come all the way fighting for their rights. These ethical and emotional issues result in a deep churning, where the internal conflicts faced by the parties manifest themselves as an external conflict. In many ways, to navigate such circumstances is the true test for a judge. How do you allow parties to come out with a solution which overcomes the internal conflict within, which leads to the manifestation of something which is external? External behavior, whether it's in terms of domestic violence or criminal behavior, is ultimately the product of an internal conflict. That is why much of our death penalty jurisprudence today in India is going beyond merely the crime into understanding the psychosomatic issues which confronted the criminal. What was the kind of family in which the criminal was born? What was the kind of early childhood experiences that the criminal had to undergo? And then we try and extrapolate using scientific techniques as to whether there is a likelihood of a recurrence of crime should this criminal be let loose in society. Is there a chance of rehabilitation? So essentially what we are trying to do, though we don't couch it in the language of yoga, is to try and figure out what were the internal conflicts in the mind of those who are in conflict of law, whether a child in conflict of law or a criminal in conflict of law. And in doing so, we are trying to assess the impact which that internal conflict has had on the physical characteristics of that individual, and whether by attending to those internal churnings, we can perhaps reform one individual. And that again is based on a fundamental tenet of our philosophy that no life, not even a single life, is too simple so as to be given up in the quest for legal penal regimes. No single individual is too small to be sacrificed. And therefore, in trying to bring people within the system, people who have in that sense been declared by the law to be beyond reparation or reform, our philosophies and our ancient learnings, including yoga, and what goes with it. Because yoga is not, in that sense, a standalone philosophy. It falls into place with a whole lifestyle based on good eating, on good thoughts, on good evolution, on good association with people you have to associate with. These are essentially things which fall into place in a holistic pattern of human beings' existences. Often when the court hears sensitive cases involving women, children and families, judges make a concerted effort to ensure that the proceedings are not viewed as combative, but instead give the parties a chance to reflect on their internal conflicts and seek resolutions that prioritize their well-being, fostering an environment conducive to understanding, empathy, and reconciliation rather than exacerbating adversarial positions. In addition to the various conflicts that we encounter as a part of our profession, members of the legal fraternity, both lawyers and judges alike, also face a perpetual battle between devotion to their work and the ability to maintain what we colloquially call today a work-life balance. You have law firms in India where an appointment is given at 2 a.m., where the time which you spend away from your seat to go to something as elementary as a bathroom is mapped so that there are lasers which are triggered which would tell you how much time you spent in the bathroom away from your seat. So in this context of the profession as it is emerging, you speak about the need to maintain a work-life balance. This applies to not only judges and lawyers, but also the clerks and the administrative staff in our courtrooms, who work night and day to keep up with the hustle and bustle of our courts. In addressing this challenge, practices like yoga serve as a crucial means to center oneself and allocate time wisely. Notably, I must share with you that the Supreme Court has recently inaugurated a cutting-edge wellness center offering our staff of over 2,000 employees an avenue to prioritize their health and overall well-being. And I must take this opportunity to thank Kaivalyadhama because their team of yoga experts come every single day to the yoga center of the Supreme Court, and we have sessions running through the morning for every member of our staff who wants to attend to the wellness center. We are also on the anvil of opening a wellness center in collaboration with the Ministry of Ayush, where we are going to have a comprehensive wellness center not merely for the judges, but for all the staff. If they want to do panchakarma, something, you have a lower body problem or you have a problem with cramps, you can attend to any issue that you want in the wellness center which we are about to inaugurate at the Supreme Court very shortly. I have personally experienced the transformative influence of yoga in my daily routine. I have made it an essential ritual to engage in yoga practice before embarking on the responsibilities that come with my role on the bench. It helps me absorb information faster and approach each case with a clearer and more focused mind, ensuring that I can uphold justice and make well-considered decisions in the courtroom. Because the essence of judging, or I dare say the essence of the life of a doctor, is to stand apart from the conflict, to stand apart from the pain and suffering of those whom you have to deal with. Because if you internalize that conflict, then you become a part of that conflict. If you internalize the pain of your patients, then you become part of the pain. You have to be empathetic to the injustice which people before you have to suffer, just as you are empathetic as a doctor to the pain of your patients. But truly, the art of medicine or the art of lawyering lies in being a little disconnected. And yoga teaches us the art of being a little disconnected. Of course, on a lighter vein, my wife always tells me that you are disconnected when I talk to you. I'm not sure whether I can blame yoga for that or just plain the very engaging arguments which you have to deal with in court all day. So as they say, physician, heal thyself. And I would dare say, chartered accountant, heal thyself. Lawyer, heal thyself. And judge, heal thyself. Now, how do we heal ourselves? We have to heal ourselves if we have to come out of the vertex of conflict by submerging our own sense of identity, our own sense of ego, that I exist and I am capable of doing something. It is that process really of submerging your sense of identity. Conflict today is all about identity. Conflict between this region and that region, conflict between this country and that country, conflict between this gender and that gender, or no gender at all, conflict between the believers and those who don't believe. Conflict is all about identity, about people who assert that this is who I am, and someone who asserts that they are very different from whom I am are not worth my 2 cups of tea. So how do you ultimately submerge conflict? And I'm not sure that this is a solution which I have to offer if it's a solution of universal application. But the true answer to conflict is to practice something, whether you call it yoga or you call it meditation or just sitting still for the moment and being with yourself in the moment, is to enable you to submerge your sense of identity, to submerge in that sense your identity, because in doing so, you submerge the importance of ego, which our market-driven societies give you. Because all of our market-driven society is about telling you about how important you are, whether it is in selling you that beautiful perfume or that lovely men's fragrance, or that body deodorant, or these shoes which are made to fit the arch of your shoes, of your arch of your feet. And that's what we really have to combat today. In no uncertain terms, the interplay between the internal and external conflicts goes beyond its obvious manifestations and also lies at the core of our democracy. Let me now take it at a slightly broader perspective. The Supreme Court recently became home to a glorious statue of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the architect of our beloved Constitution. Throughout Dr. Ambedkar's work, he recognized the interplay between the internal or the personal with the external or the public. He was of the firm belief that India's independence struggle, a form of external conflict, could not be conducted in isolation from the internal conflict against its oppressive social order. He consistently held the view that democracy cannot be attained by mere political equality or liberty, but it is rooted in the socialization of the hearts and minds of the people living in the country. A nation, Dr. Ambedkar said, was not an abstraction external to its members. Rather, it was its members in their intricate relations and interdependence. To serve the nation was to promote the well-being, both internal and external, of its members. While describing his conception of democracy, Dr. Ambedkar famously wrote, "There must be social endosmosis. Democracy is not merely a form of government. It is primarily a mode of associated living, of conjoint communicated experience. It is essentially an attitude of respect and reverence towards fellow men. Indeed, no matter how many institutions exist, unless the essence of democracy and mutual respect towards one another is deeply ingrained within our internal selves, the machinery of democracy itself will struggle to function." In a nutshell then, the interplay between the internal and the external plays out in every aspect of our lives: family, profession, and the nation. It is our ability to harmonize the internal and the external dynamics that shape our interactions that define the essence of who we are as individuals, professionals, and citizens of a nation. I would like to take solace in and share with you all Lord Krishna's advice to Arjuna amid the deadly conflict in the Mahabharata. He said, "Arjuna, if you want to see the brave, look to those who can return love for hatred. If you want to see heroic, look to those who can forgive." I once again congratulate Kaivalyadhama on the inauguration of the state-of-the-art center. I extend my earnest wishes for the success of the symposium, and I now look forward to what is an integral part of yoga, which is having sattvic food after intellectual debate. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom that had the entire hall engulfed in deep thought and interest. Thank you for so beautifully expressing the need of documenting knowledge. Indeed, knowledge never reduces but instead enhances when shared with others. Thank you for stating that yoga is an integral part of life and that it really helps to embrace the art of healthy disconnect. It is we who are honored to have your presence with us today. Thank you very much, sir. To extend a warm word of gratitude, I invite Shri Nitin Thakker, President, Bombay Bar Association, our collaborators, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Kaivalyadhama and Bombay Bar Association, I have a pleasant task of proposing a vote of thanks on this momentous occasion of the inauguration of Seminar Conflict Resolution, Internal and External, by the learned Chief Justice. I would like to begin by expressing our gratitude to Swami Kaivalyadhama for establishing this institution 100 years ago. Swamiji's pioneering research into the scientific use of yoga had convinced him that the ancient system of yoga, if understood through the modern scientific experiments, would help the society. I sincerely thank our Honorable Chief Justice of India, Dr. Dhananjaya Chandrachud, who regularly practices yoga, for having very kindly consented to inaugurate today's seminar. Sir, your words of wisdom and your personal experiences will remain source of inspiration to all of us. It is indeed very gracious of you to have spared your precious time to come to Lonavala for this momentous occasion. Sir, thank you very much for inaugurating ML Pense Center for Cancer Survivors and Lifestyle Conditions. Our special thanks to Honorable Mr. Justice Abhay for his keynote speech, Sir, analysis of conflicts coming before courts, your suggestion to involve Kaivalyadhama in court annex mediation centers is very much appreciated. Please accept our heartfelt gratitude for making this special trip to Lonavala. Our pranams to Sri Om Prakash Tiwari ji, who is direct disciple of Swamiji, for his blessings. Om Prakash ji is leading the institution and continuing the scientific research in yoga commenced by Swamiji. I thank the Chief Justice of Bombay High Court, Dr. Sri Devendra Kumar Upadhyay ji, for his kind words and being the guest of honor today, and for inspiring words about Kaivalyadhama, and your suggestion to hold such symposium regularly is noted by both Kaivalyadhama and Bombay Bar Association. Our special thanks to Justice B.N. Srikrishna, Chairman Advisory Board Kaivalyadhama, for his wonderful words of wisdom. I thank all the learned speakers, Justice Srikrishna ji, former Chief Justice Ramesh Dhanuka ji, Justice Mridula Bhatkar ji, Dr. Birendra Saraf ji, and all others for accepting our invitation to attend and address on various topics today. I am sure in these modern times of stressful life in our profession, the discussion and deliberations will show us a way to swim through calmly. And I thank all of you, former judges, doctors, senior advocates, and all others for having made this trip to attend the symposium today. I am sure at the end of the day, all of you will have lots of food for thoughts. I thank the trustees of Justice ML Pense Foundation, Sashank and Varsha Manohar, Nutan and Vishwa Bhatt, Suresh Pakale, Dalal family, and other well-wishers of Kaivalyadhama for their valuable contribution at their presence today. I would be failing in my duty if I do not recognize the backbone of Kaivalyadhama, including today's function, Sri Subodh Tiwari ji, who conceptualized today's function. Sir, Bombay Bar Association is specially thankful to you for having considered us worthy of associating with to today's symposium. The smooth organization of today's function would not have been possible without the tireless efforts of the volunteers of Kaivalyadhama, who are like a family. A big shout out for them. I apologize if I have left out anyone. Thank you, one and all.
We will now close the ceremony with a Shanti Path by Ramdas ji and team.
कोमलता के साथ आंखें बंद, दोनों हाथ नमस्कार की मुद्रा में। लंबा गहरा श्वास। ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति।